Hey everyone, Matt here from Docs Running, and today we're going to do a comparison review, or should I upgrade episode, of the Nike Vaporfly 3 versus the new Nike Vaporfly 4. Now, this is the Vaporfly. It is the world's most famous and original super racing shoe. It was the first one of these that came out, and it's also the one that people most frequently recognize. A lot of people buy it, a lot of people wear it, very common to see at races, very common to see even people wearing casually, which you shouldn't do that, but that's a different story. Vaporfly has had a lot of history behind it. The version 3 was really interesting because they changed to a knit upper, which created a lot more room. Midsole got softer, the platform got way more aggressive, so much so that I struggled to run long distance in this shoe. It was great for some shorter stuff, but even though I got 70 miles on my pair, I really didn't take it past like 7-8 miles, so I couldn't tolerate that. Plenty of people could obviously take it the marathon distance beyond. It was just something for me. Now, one of the things that I did notice is a lot of these shoes we're starting to kind of overlap, right? The Alphafly 3 is an amazing shoe. It is my preferred one of the two of these, but softness-wise, there was a little bit of overlap with version 3, and so I was really curious to see where they went with version 4. And I was like, well, it looks like there's going to be some changes, and that would be an understatement because these two shoes are completely different. The only thing they really share is the name and, I mean, some of the basics of the materials, but that's where it ends. They're very different. And so that's why I'm doing this review, is I want you to understand if you really like this version 3, version 4 may not be for you. If you didn't like version 3, version 4 might be for you, because you're gonna have to know these are two different shoes, and I'm gonna help you figure out which one might work better for you in that regard. Let's go through specs first. I measured these both in my men's size 10, and they are very different, especially in weight. So weight-wise, version 3 comes in at 202 grams, or about 7.1 ounces, which is really respectable. Version 4 comes in at 6.4 ounces, or 180 grams in my size 10. That's very light. That's one of the lightest kind of mainstream super racing shoes on the market. Although there's a lot of companies that are gonna be coming for that very soon as well. Now, stack height wise, fairly similar. 38 millimeters in the heel, 30 in the forefoot over in Vaporfly 3, 36 millimeters in the heel, 30 in the forefoot for a 6 millimeter drop over Vaporfly 4, which you think, oh, this must be somewhat, no, they're not similar at all. So version 3, sorry to cut that off, but it's just amazing to me how different these are. Version 3, soft, unstable from heel to forefoot. The Zoom X is what you'd expect from Zoom X. Soft, bouncy, lighter feeling, really a large amount of cushion underfoot. For those with neutral mechanics, this is a great shoe. It's very light for how much cushion it has. Version 4 is firmer. Obviously, it's not a bare bones minimalist shoe, but the Zoom X is much snappy underfoot. It's not soft. It's firmer and feels like almost a more traditional racing shoe, but in a more maximal stack height, but extremely light ride. So I'm really happy because I really like that these shoes are getting back to that lighter realm, but there's obviously going to be a trade-off where it turns into a stiffer, snappier ride, and part of the increased stiffness just becomes the foam is firmer as well. This one feels just a teeny bit more flexible. There's obviously no flex with the carbon fiber flight plate, but just a softer, easier transition in version 3. Version 4 is much more aggressive, much firmer, and snappier underfoot, which is going to make it much more tailored to shorter distances. I think people with neutral mechanics, I couldn't do it, could take version 3 up to the marathon. I don't know if as many people are going to be able to do that in version 4. It's much more of a 5K to half marathon shoe, where the Alphafly is going to be that half marathon to marathon shoe now, and the Streakfly is going to be that, the Streakfly 2 is going to be that mile to 5K shoe, maybe 10K shoe. So it's really sitting in a very different place than the Alphafly now because of that firmer ride. Now, for that same reason, it is much lighter. It turns over super well. I had a hard time turning over at really maximal speeds in the Vaporfly. It's still light, it's still bouncy, but it just lended itself to being a tiny bit longer, where doing 200 meter repeats, doing fast hill repeats, doing shorter intervals, 5K efforts, 10K efforts, feels much better for me in the Vaporfly 4. But that's also because I like firmer shoes. I don't like shoes to be as mushy, which is the big thing. If you like soft and bouncy, version 3 is going to be better. If you want firmer, snappier, more aggressive, lighter, version 4 is really going to be the better shoe for you, just because they are that different. Now, the fit is also extremely different. Version 3 was surprisingly wide. There was a lot of volume here, a lot more width, which was actually great for someone like me that's kind of sensitive to things that are a little bit more narrow. But it can be problematic for people with more narrow feet because you're going to feel like you're sloshing around. You got to really lock the laces down. Version 4 fixes that, where it's still actually a more rounded toe box, which is nice, so you still have some room for your toes, but the volume is much lower. It's so low that I might suggest that a lot of people who are between sizes, you're gonna wanna go a half size up. Andrea actually had to reorder a half size up just because the front here, the toe guard, while it's flexible, was pushing on both her toes and my toes. I felt that. It's not enough for me to want to get a half size larger because I'm not focusing on marathon type distance. I'm doing shorter distance stuff, so it doesn't bother me as much. But people that have sensitive toes know this sits really low. It sits a lot more snug volume-wise, which also holds your foot really well in the forefoot. In the heel, I'm having some heel slippage. So this nice padding here really does a great job of protecting my sensitive heels from the stiff counter back here, which same thing in version 3. I didn't have any heel issues. My heels are really sensitive. I have a Haglund deformity, i.e. a little bony bump there that can just get irritated from a harder heel counter. Same thing, cushioned really well, but the heel locked down for me better in this version. This one I'm just getting a little bit of heel slippage, and after 30 miles, I've just decided, you know what, I'm gonna lace lock it and lock it in a little bit better, which fortunately in this version, there is a little bit more padding on the tongue, which is not gusseted, and you can tighten the laces down and get a more secure fit without irritating the top of your foot. Version 3, tongue was much thinner. You had to be careful with that because the extensor tendons on the top of your foot with too much pressure can get irritated in some people. I'm one of those people. So fit different, higher volume, wider, still slightly like anatomic forefoot, but this is a much lower volume fit for people that have normal to maybe more narrow feet. That's probably going to work a little bit better over in version 4. From a stability standpoint, neither one of these are stability shoes. Just look at the outsole and the bottom of the shoes and you know right away. However, version 4 is actually working better for me. So two things. A, version 3, super soft midsole, taller heel. That's going to be inherently less stable. I was wobbly as all heck in this shoe. The other thing is the slightly more curved last. It's very mild, is going to push people like me a little bit more medial. That appears to be a fix in version 4, where now you have a much more centered platform, you have a much better groove, guidance line is what sometimes some people call them, and because of that, it's less biased in one direction. So if you're really sensitive to getting pushed in one way, this shoe isn't going to do that. Yes, is it stable? No, it's not stable. There's no sidewalls, there's no stability mechanisms, the midfoot is narrow beyond all belief. Am I going to be able to take this shoe, or anybody with stability needs to be able to take this shoe for a marathon or long distance? Probably not. But I was able to run 12 miles in this shoe, which is a long run for me now. And yeah, I fatigued beyond all belief, but I actually could do it. So a little bit more centered in this shoe, which is great. Not stable, but for those that were really sensitive to the softer ride of version 3, version 4 is going to be a lot better in that regard, but it's still not a stability shoe. It's just slightly more centered and a little bit less biased in one direction. If you have excessive motion, you're going to roll off this shoe. So not a stability option, but just different because it's also a firmer. That's going to be something else. From a multi-use perspective, version 3 I actually used for not trail, but like cross-country stuff. The outsole lugs did manage to hold on to some things. It's not an advanced trail shoe, but there was still some decent traction. That's not going to be the same here. This shoe is going to be a little bit less aggressive on the outsole. It grips the road just fine, but in terms of softer surfaces, I would not use this for cross-country. There's going to be better options for you, but I wouldn't take this on softer surfaces. The large groove is going to get rock stuck, which there's a groove here, but it wasn't as bad. And the other thing is the durability seems to be wearing a little bit quicker on version 4 compared to version 3. Now, here is my left shoe, which is the one that I tear through, and you can start seeing a little bit of extra wear there. Here, the outsole rubber pieces held up really, really well in version 3. Again, 70 miles, and they didn't come off, which is amazing for me, but a lot of wear. I'm just seeing a little bit more earlier wear in version 4, which tells me, you know what? Probably best to keep version 4 on smoother and firmer man-made surfaces, as opposed to version 3 had a little bit more versatility in terms of people using it for cross-country and other stuff, although I wouldn't do that based on how soft it is. So, two completely different shoes. Softer, bouncier, slightly taller with a wider fit over in version 3. Maybe can handle some longer distance stuff if you're a have neutral mechanics. Version 4 is way lighter, turns over way faster, firmer relatively, stiffer, and a lower volume fit that's going to feel more racing-like. And for those of us that used to run in those super light racing shoes, this is getting a little bit closer to that. One is not necessarily better than the other for everybody. They're just going to be really different. And so those of you that really like version 3, you may not like version 4. People that didn't like version 3, you might like version 4 for the reasons I said. Hopefully that helps because I'm trying to get through both these and understand which one I like. I'm doing a lot better in version 4, but there's some things that, like I said, people may not like. So as always, please let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with me. I'm always curious to know how people are perceiving this, just because I perceive such a massive difference between these two of these. I always wonder, I'm like, am I the only one? So let me know if you agree or disagree. I just want to know. And last but not least, hope this really helps you make some decisions about what A, you spend your dollars on, and B, what you put your feet in, because the whole goal of this is to help you make better footwear decisions so you can keep running healthy.